You know, when drought happens, it can be quite devastating. Sometimes a large river coming out of a dammed area will end up trickling into something like this, and it can be hard on the local population. Find that the soil dries up and saltifies somewhat, and it becomes somewhat difficult to farm in at best, and cracked up soils. But you try to find a silver lining in it if you can, I guess. Well, that's what happened to northern Iraq here, near the Mosul Dam. And just recently, with it exposing back so much land that had been pulled back by this dam and covered up and long forgotten, they seem to find this. Oh, well, at first they were trying to say maybe it's a temple, of course. It turns out to be a ancient palace. They had to wait for the water to go down the rest of the way that you see here, and it's gone even deeper from that point. One wonders what else could find there. It's kind of in the Kurdistan area that's here, and they found with it associated a group of tablets. And so, again, they had to wait for the water to recede, and it's receded quite back now. But it's coming back and filling back up now, so they have a limited window. And they're saying that it is associated with these ancient people known as the Mitanni. Now, a lot of people don't even know about the Mitanni, have never heard about them. They've heard about ancient Sumeria and the Assyrians that come after it, and perhaps the Canaanites or Phoenicians, Egypt, and so on. But there's the Mitanni civilization that's situated here between the Tigris and Euphrates at the top portion of it. Through a time from about 1600 BC, they came to fruition, and for a good long time. The Battle of Kadesh is fought right here and so on. Here's ancient Ugarit, and right above it, this purple area, is the Hittite Empire. Well, they associate it with these Mitanni people. And so we've talked about the Mitanni quite a few times. In fact, I find myself saying it all the time whenever I talk about ancient art and how they used red ochre symbology. For these people that you see right here also use that red ochre males and pale females and stuff. And you can see what they normally look like. Well, the Greeks used it too, so did the Minoans and Etruscans and the Egyptians. All really pretty much the same. These people are also associated with these castles like you see in the background that look very much like the Hattushan type of people that were in ancient times. You can also see that they're associated with a scale mail type of armor that looks like fish or dragon scales. And they also have horses which have plumed tops to them, which you'll see later and come in with these people associated. And then Egypt has it. But they have chariots and other advanced things. So what we're waiting on now is for them to go through the tablets that they've gotten, and they're supposed to be deciphering them and so on. It used to be off a major river that's there, but it no longer exists because that river is really now the dammed up river valley that becomes part of that Mosul dam and the area behind it too. And so one wonders what possible other places are all up under that water. Conspicuously, the places that we have had to dam to keep people alive quite often has covered up places, like in Egypt, and they had to move the whole giant temples and so on. So these people had ancient ziggurats, buildings that had a damage to the part of the bottom of it. Not a damage, but a dam break built into it, they're saying, that would have been effectively, if the river flooded, it could keep it from it. A lot of people make connections, say, well, the Sumerians had that and the flood that they had and so on. And even in the flood stories, it talks about how it all flooded up and got 15 cubits deep. The only thing that was standing above it was the ziggurats. And a lot of people in time said, well, that's the Tower of Babel, and they made it so they wouldn't flood again and all these type of things. But it was a localized type flood. But I'll be darned, this isn't right between the Tigris and Euphrates and up just a little higher than that. So all we're really waiting on, I guess, is more archaeology. There's a picture done from it, and they say, well, here's some of the walls. And so they were richly painted, and we're going to have to get groups of that little chipping there and see if they can even put back together and tell you if it's a mosaic type or if it's a painting or if it's just some symbology or swirls or things like that. One could guess that it would probably look a lot like Sumerian type. Reds, blues, blacks. And then again, we've got these tablets that we talked about that were found in one of these pits as they're going through them. And of course, they've got this huge area and expanse. So all we need is to have them go through it and see what they can decipher. And we're waiting on the end of result of that right now. And I guess this is a preemptive thing, and saw a deal on it talking about it now again, and I'm like, can't wait. This was in the summer of 2019. Now we're coming into winter of 2020, and it should have been here about, yeah, it's one of those things. So here's the starting of this mound piece, and you can see that the dam that usually is back, this is all underwater, is actually exposed this and turned back almost into its river in this area, and by receding back it exposes it. But there's also got to be places around here, of course, associated with it. There's not just a palace in the middle of nowhere. So I'm sure they're going a little bit hectic at it. We can still see some sandbags and things like that, and they had to wait to the point that the water level got down here to the point that whenever they got down to the excavations, I mean, it still looks moist in the bottom of that in the other picture we were looking at, so you can tell it's still seeping and so on. Don't want it to be fully underwater. So a lot of archaeology is probably lost because of that effect. But these tablets, clay tablets, are kept in pretty good condition regardless of what happened. Isn't it amazing that they went through the trouble in making things out of fire clay bricks? So once more comes out on this, I'll give y'all a holler. Like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy.